My dear friends, people talk about timing like it's some kind of divine appointment. They sit around waiting for the stars to align, the economy to shift, their confidence to rise, or their fear to disappear. They wait for the perfect day, the right opportunity, or some kind of supernatural sign before they move. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Greatness doesn't wait. It doesn't show up with a red carpet. It doesn't knock gently and ask if you're ready. It demands action. It demands a decision, and not just any decision, a real one. The kind that makes your stomach turn a bit, that forces you out of your comfort zone, that makes you question whether you're capable, and then proves that you are. You want to build a different life. You want to break free from the job you hate, the financial hole you're in, the self-doubt that keeps you frozen. It's not going to happen because the calendar flipped. It happens the second you draw a line in the sand and say, I'm done waiting. That's the moment things change. That's the spark of all momentum. Not July 29, not New Year's Day, not your birthday, now. The most successful people you see, the ones who built something from nothing, who changed their financial future, who turned their name into a brand, they didn't wait for the universe to hand them a golden ticket. They got up one morning, looked around at their situation, and made a brutal, honest decision. They decided that enough was enough, that their current life wasn't the limit, that their future wasn't going to be left to chance, that no one was coming to save them, and in that moment of clarity they committed, fully, no backup plan, no fallback. Waiting for motivation is like sitting in a broken-down car, hoping someone else will fix the engine. You've got to pop the hood, get your hands dirty, and make it move, and it all starts with that inner shift, a decision that says, this is my responsibility now. That's where greatness is born, not in luck, not in timing, not in comfort, but in ownership. Every excuse you've got sounds valid, too tired, too broke, too inexperienced, too late. But here's what you need to realize, every person who made it had those same excuses. They just didn't obey them. They didn't let fear vote. They didn't hand over their dreams to hesitation. They made a decision and then backed it with action, not for a week, not for a New Year's resolution cycle, but relentlessly. The right decision is rarely convenient. It's the one that hurts in the short term. It's waking up earlier than your body wants. It's spending your weekends learning instead of escaping. It's being the odd one out while your friends waste time. It's pouring your energy into building something no one else can see yet, but that's the price of becoming someone they can't ignore later. People will try to convince you to wait. They'll say, just be patient, your time will come. But time doesn't hand out success. Time gives you hours. What you do with those hours, that's the real test. While everyone else is killing time, you could be using it to change your life. That's why a real decision is powerful. Because once it's made, the clock starts ticking, not for when something will happen to you, but for when you'll make it happen. The problem is most people treat life like a lottery. They buy a dream, but never build it. They fantasize about what could happen if they were lucky enough to catch a break. But luck is just momentum in disguise. When you start making the right decisions over and over again, when you choose discipline over ease, clarity over confusion, growth over comfort, you start to manufacture your own luck. You get in motion and suddenly things click. Doors open, people notice, results show up. But it all traces back to that first decision to stop sitting, stop waiting, and start moving. You'll never feel 100% ready. That moment you're hoping for where everything aligns perfectly. It's a myth. Even the people who look like they have it all figured out are building while battling fear. The difference is they decided to act anyway. They didn't need a perfect plan. They just needed to stop pretending tomorrow would be any different than today unless they changed. One choice, that's what sets everything in motion, not a massive overhaul, not a 10-step master plan, just one firm, non-negotiable decision. When you decide with intention, when you stop entertaining options that don't serve your future, you change your direction. And once your direction changes, your outcomes start to change with it, slowly at first, then suddenly. But it starts in your head, in your heart, in that moment of truth where you decide not to waste another day. That's the seed of greatness, not a miracle, not a prophecy, just you making the call. Most people don't live the life they want because they live every day like it's no big deal. Wake up late, scroll on their phone, do the bare minimum at work, kill time in the evening, and repeat. And they call that normal, but here's the problem. Normal doesn't lead to extraordinary. It leads to average, stagnant, predictable. If you want a different life, it starts with a different approach, because the truth is, your daily habits are either building your future or burying it. When you hear someone say a specific day, like July 29, 2026, will not be a normal day, your first instinct might be to shrug it off. But you shouldn't, because that's not a throwaway statement. That's a signal, a wake-up call, a reminder that not every day is created equal, and some days are meant to break patterns, not repeat them. And when that kind of day shows up, the last thing you want to do is meet it with average energy. You can't face something extraordinary with ordinary behavior. That's like bringing a butter knife to a gunfight. This isn't the day to hit snooze or wait to feel motivated. It's not the day to scroll social media until you're numb. It's not the day to play small. This is the kind of day that demands your full attention, your maximum effort, and your most intentional action. The reason so many people stay stuck year after year is because they treat every day the same. They go through life like it's some unchangeable routine, thinking that if they just stay consistent enough with mediocrity, something magical will eventually happen. But what actually happens? Time passes. Dreams fade, frustration builds, and nothing changes. Why? Because they confuse motion with progress. They're moving, but they're not moving with purpose. This is why certain days stand out. Days where everything feels different, not because the sun rises in a special way, but because you decide to show up differently. You shift your standard, you raise your level, you attack your goals with urgency instead of apathy. And you stop asking for permission to be great. You just go do it. Let's break something down that most people avoid admitting. Your life is a reflection of your habits, not your dreams, not your potential, not your ideas. Your habits. If your daily actions are average, your results will be too. That's not negativity, it's math. You can't eat junk every day and expect to be healthy. You can't spend recklessly and expect to be wealthy. You can't live distracted and expect to be focused. And you definitely can't act ordinary and expect to be extraordinary. So when a day like July 29 comes around, it's not about superstition or mystery. It's about opportunity. It's about choosing to meet the day with a level of intensity and clarity that most people never touch. And that doesn't just mean working harder. It means working smarter. It means cutting out the noise, eliminating distractions, and zeroing in on what actually matters. It means deciding what you will no longer tolerate from yourself. No more half-effort, no more almost started projects, no more someday thinking, just now, just real, just action. And here's the part most people miss: those rare days where you go all in, they compound. They change your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries and start seeing yourself as someone who executes. You build confidence not from hype, but from evidence. Evidence that you can do hard things, that you can raise your standard, that you can separate from the crowd. You don't need to overhaul your entire life in one shot. You just need to show up differently when it matters. One decision, one bold move. One day where you step into your power fully and unapologetically. And the thing about days like that is, they echo. They don't just make an impact in the moment. They ripple into everything else you do. Suddenly, tomorrow feels different. Your goals feel closer. Your actions feel sharper. Why? Because you broke the cycle, you interrupted the pattern of ordinary and proved to yourself that you're capable of more. The world doesn't reward potential, it rewards proof, it rewards execution. It rewards the people who stop waiting for the right time and start showing up with the right mindset. And when a day like July 29 presents itself, you either rise to the occasion or get passed by it. You either set the tone or let it slip by, like all the other missed chances you promised yourself would be different next time. Most people want to win, but very few are prepared to earn it. They want the rewards, the respect, the recognition, but they don't want to put in the preparation. They want the outcome without the grind, and that's exactly why they never reach the level they're capable of. You don't walk into a life-changing moment and hope to figure it out on the spot. You prepare for it. You train for it. You build yourself for it long before anyone else sees the result. When people hear that July 29, 2026 won't be a normal day, they get excited for a second. Their imagination lights up. They think, maybe this is the day everything changes. But here's the truth. Nothing changes unless you're ready for it. A date can't transform your life. An opportunity can't elevate you if you haven't done the work behind the scenes. You could be handed the keys to your dream and still blow it if you haven't become the person capable of handling it. Preparation is what separates the people who get lucky once from the people who win consistently. It's not flashy, it's not exciting, it's the quiet work, the early mornings, the late nights, the hours no one sees. It's studying when others are relaxing. It's sacrificing short-term comfort for long-term gain. It's practicing so much that when the moment arrives, you don't freeze. You dominate. Everyone wants the stage. Everyone wants the spotlight, but the spotlight only exposes what's already true. If you haven't prepared, it shows. If you've been cutting corners, it shows. If you've been faking it, it shows. But if you've been sharpening your skills, building your discipline, and staying consistent when no one's watching, that shows too. And that's the kind of preparation that creates real power. Think about it like this. Success isn't something you chase. It's something you attract by becoming the kind of person who deserves it. You prepare like it's guaranteed, and when the opportunity finally arrives, it's not a surprise, it's an appointment. You don't panic because you're already in motion. You don't hesitate because you've trained for this. You've seen it in your mind 1,000 times. Now it's just execution. Preparation isn't just about doing, it's about becoming more focused, more disciplined, more intentional. It's about aligning your habits with your goals so that every day, even the ordinary ones, are building something. You don't wait for motivation. You create a system that keeps you moving even when you're tired, even when you don't feel like it, even when no one's clapping for you. You need to treat every day leading up to that moment, July 29 or any day like it, as a runway. You're either building momentum or you're standing still. And when that day comes, it's going to expose your level of preparation. Did you read the books? Did you learn the skills? Did you build the body, the business, the mindset? Or did you coast, complain, and hope something magical would happen? You can't cheat preparation. You can't fake repetition. If you haven't done the work, the cracks will show when the pressure hits. But if you have done the work, if you've put in the reps, made the sacrifices, and stayed consistent, then that moment becomes your launch pad. The day becomes a reflection of everything you've built in silence. Too many people think preparation is optional. They think they'll rise to the occasion, but you don't rise to the occasion. You fall to the level of your training. And if your training is weak, if your effort has been shallow, if your habits have been sloppy, then you're going to fall short when it matters most. You don't need more chances. You need more preparation for the chances you already have. Every dream you have, every goal you're chasing, every level you want to reach, it all demands preparation. You don't get to skip steps. You don't get to bypass struggle. You have to build the foundation brick by brick. You have to become the person who is worthy of the success you're asking for. It doesn't matter how long it takes. What matters is that you're building, that every single day you're doing something, learning, improving, adapting. That you're not just waiting for the opportunity, you're preparing for it with the intensity of someone who knows it's coming, because when it does, it won't come with a second warning. It won't give you time to scramble. It'll show up suddenly, and you'll either be ready or you won't. People always wait for something external to change their life, a miracle, a big break, a lucky turn. They look at specific dates or events and hope that something out there will shift their circumstances. They talk like maybe this day will be different, or maybe this is the moment everything finally clicks. But what they don't understand is this: the power has never been in the day, it's been in you the whole time. You are the variable, you are the difference maker. The magic doesn't come from a date on the calendar, it comes from how you show up to that date. You can circle July 29, 2026 all you want, but if you don't change the way you think, move, and prepare, it will pass just like every other day you wasted. The world isn't going to suddenly start rewarding you just because a new opportunity appears. It rewards the person who's ready for the moment, not the one who simply hopes for it. You're not going to wake up one day and find that everything's magically aligned unless you've done the internal work to deserve that alignment. That's where real power lies, in the choices you make when no one's watching, in the habits you practice when you feel like giving up, in the discipline you apply to the most boring, repetitive tasks that no one will ever applaud. That's the grind that turns an average person into a winner. So when you hear that a day like July 29, 2026 won't be normal, you shouldn't think about what that day might bring. You should think about what you're going to bring to that day. What version of you is going to wake up that morning? The one who's still making excuses, still doubting themselves, still playing small? Or the version who's been building in silence, pushing through setbacks, sharpening their skills, and refusing to accept average? Too many people live their lives hoping that something will happen to them, that success will arrive like a package at the door, that one day they'll get discovered, promoted, picked, or saved. But that's fantasy thinking. If you want to change your life, it starts when you stop outsourcing your power. When you stop waiting to be chosen and start choosing yourself. When you realize you don't need permission, you just need a reason and a commitment. Think about anyone who's ever made something remarkable happen. They didn't wait for the perfect moment to take action. They created the moment through action. They didn't stumble into greatness. They built it. And what fueled it wasn't luck, wasn't timing, wasn't connections. It was belief in their ability to grow, to improve, to take control. That same belief is available to you, but you've got to stop treating yourself like an extra in your own story. You have more power than you realize. You're capable of reinventing yourself entirely in the space of a year if you stop doubting your own potential. But potential means nothing without execution. You can have all the ideas in the world, but if you're not doing something about them, they're just noise. The difference between the person who dreams and the person who achieves is ownership, full responsibility. No blame, no victim mindset, just pure drive to take what's inside and bring it to life. That's what it means to be the magic behind the moment. It means recognizing that your success doesn't hinge on the world being ready. It hinges on you being ready. You're not here to hope life gets easier. You're here to become stronger, smarter, sharper. You're here to stack every small win until it becomes a breakthrough. You're here to walk into the moment with fire in your chest and clarity in your mind. Not wondering if you deserve it, but knowing you built yourself for it. Most people think transformation starts when the situation changes. But the truth is, transformation starts when you change, when you stop waiting for the world to shift and decide to shift yourself, when you stop looking at external events to spark motivation and start being your own source of energy. That's when the magic happens, not on a random date, not in the hands of someone else, not by chance. But the moment you decide that you're no longer going to waste your potential and you start living like your future depends on you, because it does. One of the biggest myths people believe is that success just shows up one day, that it comes out of nowhere like a surprise party. They see someone blow up on social media, land a massive deal, or launch a product that takes off, and they assume it all happened overnight. What they don't see is the years of effort that led up to that moment. The preparation, the failure, the learning, the repetition. Success isn't discovered by accident. It's built step by step, long before the world notices. You'll hear someone say they just got lucky, or they were in the right place at the right time. That's how people protect themselves from the truth, that they could have built something too, but didn't. The reality is that the people who win aren't lucky, they're prepared. They've been doing the work long before anyone clapped for them. They made the hard decisions when no one was watching. They sacrificed comfort, ignored distractions, and put their head down when it would have been easier to coast. And that's why they're ready when the moment comes. July 29, 2026 won't be a normal day, but it also won't change anything for people who haven't prepared for it. If you treat it like any other day, it'll pass like any other day. But for the person who's been building, who's been stacking quiet victories and doing the work behind the scenes, it could be the day everything clicks, not because of magic, but because they made themselves ready for it. Think of success like a test. You don't get a good grade because you showed up. You get a good grade because you studied, because you practiced, because you stayed up late preparing while others were distracted. You can't cram your way into greatness. You can't fake it in the moment. The work shows. It either carries you or exposes you. The people who seem to break through overnight are the same people who have been grinding for years when no one cared. They weren't doing it for applause. They were doing it because they had a vision. They knew they were capable of more, and they weren't waiting for validation to start. That's the mindset it takes to win. You don't wait to be discovered. You prepare so thoroughly that when the opportunity comes, it has no choice but to notice you. You don't build success in public. You reveal it in public. You build it in private. In the early mornings when the alarm goes off and no one else is awake. In the long nights when you're tired but still working. In the hours you spend mastering your craft when it would be easier to settle. That's where the foundation is laid. That's where confidence comes from. Not from ego, but from proof. You've done the reps. You've earned the right to step forward when the moment arrives. Everyone wants the spotlight, but very few are willing to rehearse in the dark. That's the difference. Most people want to be seen, but they don't want to be shaped. They want the reward, but they avoid the process. They look at the highlight reel and skip over the hard work it took to create it. But the ones who understand how success works, they're not surprised when the breakthrough comes. They expect it because they built it. You can't microwave mastery. You can't fast forward through discipline. You've got to be willing to show up day after day and do the work that no one else wants to do. You've got to build when it's boring, when it's slow, when it feels like no one's paying attention, because that's what makes the moment real when it finally arrives. The outcome only has power because of the effort that came before it. If you want to win on a day like July 29, you don't wait until the week before to start taking your life seriously. You start now. You build momentum while everyone else is asleep. You put in the kind of effort that compounds, because while others are hoping for a lucky break, you're making sure you don't need one. You're creating your own timing. You're making your own doors. And when the world finally takes notice, it won't feel like a surprise. It'll feel like the result of everything you've been building all along. Success doesn't sneak up on you. It's earned through preparation that most people avoid. It's the long game, the repetition, the silence, the grit. And when that one day shows up, the kind of day that can change everything, you're either ready or you're not. Not because of fate, not because of luck, but because you did the work ahead of time, and now it's simply time to collect on the investment you've already made in yourself. Excuses are comfortable. They give you a reason to stay in the same place, a way to justify your lack of progress. They sound like logic, but they're just lies dressed up as limitations. I don't have time. I'm not ready. What if I fail? The list never ends, and the worst part, most people believe their excuses. They cling to them like armor, hoping it will protect them from discomfort. But the truth is, the moment urgency enters your life, those excuses start to look ridiculous. Urgency doesn't care about your fear. It doesn't care about your schedule, your stress, or your story. When urgency is real, when something truly matters, you stop looking for reasons not to act. You stop overthinking. You stop scrolling. You stop wasting time trying to perfect the plan. You just move because you understand that time is slipping away whether you do something or not. There's nothing like a deadline to wake people up. You tell someone they have a year to build something and they'll start tomorrow. You tell them they've got 7 days left and suddenly they're in motion. Why? Because urgency removes the illusion of someday. And someday is the most dangerous word in the vocabulary of someone with potential. It sounds harmless, optimistic even, but in reality, it's a graveyard where dreams go to die. When you hear that a specific date like July 29, 2026 won't be a normal day, it should flip a switch in your brain. Because what that really means is, time is running out, you don't have forever, the opportunity is approaching, and the only question that matters is whether or not you'll be ready for it. This isn't just a date. It's a deadline, and deadlines create urgency. Without urgency, life becomes a waiting room. People sit around watching others succeed, wondering when it will be their turn, but life doesn't hand out turns. It responds to movement. When you move with urgency, doors open, people pay attention, opportunities show up, not because you got lucky, but because you were finally acting like time mattered. Urgency doesn't mean panic. It means focus. It means deciding that what you want is important enough to prioritize. It means turning down distractions, saying no to things that waste your energy, creating a system that aligns your daily actions with your long-term goals. When urgency is real, clarity follows. You're no longer juggling 100 different things. You're chasing one thing with intensity, and that's how progress happens. Excuses only thrive in the absence of urgency. When you don't feel the pressure to act, you'll find a million reasons to wait. But when something matters enough, when it's real, when it's close, you push the excuses aside and get to work. Think about the last time you had to get something done. A real deadline, a situation you couldn't ignore. Did you overthink it, or did you just figure it out? You figured it out because the consequences of not acting were immediate. That's the mindset you need now. Not tomorrow, not next month, now, because July 29 is closer than you think. Every excuse you make between now and then is just another reason you'll regret not doing more when the moment arrives. That regret hits hard. It shows up when the opportunity is gone. When someone else took the spot you were too scared to claim. When you realize that the only thing standing between you and progress was the story you kept telling yourself about why it wasn't the right time. Urgency makes you honest. It forces you to face the gap between what you say you want and what you're actually doing about it. It strips away the fluff and demands action. And the truth is, you don't need more time. You need more pressure. Because pressure activates potential. It forces you to become resourceful. It makes you stronger, sharper, faster. And it kills the excuses that have been quietly keeping you stuck. The people who win aren't the ones with the perfect plan. They're the ones who move with urgency. They don't wait for motivation to kick in. They create it through movement. They act like the clock is ticking because it is. They understand that excuses don't serve their future. They're not interested in feeling good right now. They're interested in building something that lasts, and they know that the best time to act isn't when it's convenient. It's when it matters, and it matters now. When everything shifts, most people freeze. They look around, shocked, scrambling to figure out what just happened. They weren't ready. They thought they had more time. They thought the opportunity would knock twice. But the truth is, life doesn't give second warnings. It moves fast, and when it moves, it favors the ones who are prepared, not the ones who are waiting. If the world changes on July 29, 2026, only one question matters. Were you ready when it did? The people who thrive during change are never the ones who started reacting after the fact. They're the ones who saw it coming and built in silence. While everyone else was waiting for signs, they were stacking skills. While the majority was drifting through distractions, they were focused on purpose. They didn't waste time predicting the future. They spent their time preparing for it. Preparation is not a reaction, it's a mindset. It's the belief that your moment will come, and when it does, you won't need to ask for a second chance. You'll be ready, not lucky. Ready? There's a massive difference. Luck fades, but preparation sticks. Being ready doesn't mean knowing every detail. It means building the mental, emotional, and physical capacity to adapt and dominate when the moment arrives. When the world changes, whether through opportunity, disruption, or challenge, most people will look for shelter, but a select few will step forward. They'll take the lead. They won't panic. They'll execute. Because they've rehearsed for this, not in theory, but in real, disciplined, focused work. That's the difference between showing up scared and showing up strong. And the only way to guarantee strength in the moment is to prepare for it in advance. July 29 might just look like another date on the calendar to some, but to others it's a line in the sand, a pivot point, a moment that will separate the committed from the casual. It won't reward talkers. It won't reward wishful thinkers. It'll reward the person who did the work without being asked, who trained when there was no spotlight, who didn't need external motivation to take internal responsibility. You've got two choices before that moment comes. You either build yourself for the opportunity, or you brace for the regret of letting it pass you by. The regret of knowing you could have been ready. That's the pain most people live with, not failure, but unfulfilled potential, and it haunts them, not because they didn't have the chance, but because they wasted the time that would have made them ready when the chance came. Think about the last time something big happened in your life. Were you ready for it, or were you caught off guard? Did you meet the moment, or did you shrink in it? That experience alone should teach you everything you need to know about the value of being prepared. Because once the moment comes, it's too late to practice. It's too late to wish you'd taken things seriously. You either rise or you fall based on the habits you've built long before the pressure hits. If you want to be the one who was ready when the world changed, you have to start preparing before the world even thinks about shifting. That means showing up early. That means getting uncomfortable while everyone else is relaxing. That means saying no to short-term pleasure so you can say yes to long-term purpose. That means learning what others ignore, mastering what others avoid, and pushing when others quit. Being ready doesn't mean being perfect. It means being positioned with the skills, mindset, and momentum to capitalize on the moment instead of being crushed by it. Because when the world changes, it doesn't wait for you to catch up. It rewards the people who are already in motion, who already made the sacrifices, who already committed to doing the work when no one else saw the value in it. You need to start acting like that day is coming. Because it is. Whether it brings an opportunity or a challenge, it doesn't matter. What matters is whether you'll meet it with strength or hesitation, whether you'll be prepared or scrambling, whether you'll be stepping up or sitting down. The choice isn't made on the day the world changes, it's made every day before that. Your actions today decide your strength tomorrow. Your discipline today determines your ability to respond when everything shifts. Most people will wait until they see the change to start moving, but by then it's too late. The door is already open or already closed, and the only thing that will determine whether you walk through it is what you did in the dark, long before anyone was watching.